Dave Mason, Director of Public Health, and I'm with Bud Dunham, Town Manager, and we're going to talk about financing for the Comprehensive Water Resource Management Plan to protect Sandwich's water resources. And to date, the town has been looking at the Wastewater Infrastructure Fund as a mechanism to fund the CWRMP. And Bud's going to talk a little about that today. What do we have?
Well, I guess the main thing that we want to talk about is the Selectmen did vote to support a 2% Water Infrastructure Investment Fund, or WIF, to try to cover the majority of our costs on Phase 1. And the total expense for Phase 1 is roughly $85 million for the next 25 to 30 years. And based on our estimates, the 2% WIF will bring in about $75 million over 35 years. So one of the things that's come up at several recent public meetings, both with the Finance Committee and public forum that we participated in, is that enough to cover everything? And the short answer is no, it's not, but it does cover the vast majority of the estimated expenses. Yeah, so the big things that we've talked about is there are several other different sources that are out there that we should be able to take advantage of. Probably the one that's got the most publicity is a 2.75% short-term rental tax that's been proposed for Cape Cod. And the unique thing about that, it would only apply to people who rented short-term rentals, i.e. Airbnb and other type. And that money would come back to the Cape in a water protection fund that would be administered by the county, and towns would be able to apply for the money that they generated. On a conservative estimate, that's supposed to bring in about $500,000 a year, so that covers that full gap just with that one thing being approved. But we've talked about a number of other smaller things.
There's a couple other mechanisms.
Yep. As we've highlighted in other presentations as well, our shared watershed savings by working with our neighboring towns in Joint Base Cape Cod, that we feel by working together we'll be able to save quite a bit of money.
Yep.
Another presentation is also highlighted with wastewater comes in the enhanced ability to do economic development. So naturally, by expanding the tax base, that brings in more taxes that can then be focused towards this need. And then another part that we've pointed out is our wastewater consultant has shared with us that in most communities, about 25% of the costs for bigger projects can be borne by end users, from either user fees to run operations, new commercial development that happens. So it's really not as much the homeowner as it is from other sources. And
there'd be grant opportunities too.
Exactly. Probably the one we're most familiar with at the state level is a Mass Works grant that is specifically geared toward water and wastewater, which is ideal for what we're trying to do. The thinking of the Board of Selectmen was that by supporting the WIF, it responsibly addresses the #1 environmental problem that Sandwich and all of Cape Cod is going to face for the next 50 years. And their whole goal in adopting the 2% WIF was to not overburden the taxpayers. You can go up to 3%, but when we looked at those numbers, everyone felt it was just too high. And so we felt the 2% was sort of the sweet spot, a little bit less than what we needed. And then to try to offset some of those costs, we hope that voters will consider supporting a 1% reduction in the CPA surcharge, or Community Preservation Act, which would mean the net difference would only be a 1% increase on both surcharges combined. When you look at those numbers, and then we've highlighted this before as well, it's only $58 in the first year is what the average home would see as an impact. And then if you average that over the next 25 years, it's $86. And I can assure you, I've looked at all the numbers, that is the cheapest way that we can fund such a big project and such a big solution that we don't want to fix, we have to fix.
So there's additional educational videos out there that we'd like you to take a look at, and let us know if you have any questions.
Thank you.